One of our viewers has pointed out that I've been using incorrect and even problematic language when describing who does and doesn't have rights here in the UK as a worker. So I would like to absolutely correct that now and be super clear about all of the different types of people who have rights. So the problematic language I was using was I was saying, as a citizen of the UK, you absolutely have the right to not be discriminated against, the right against unfair dismissal. But that's wrong. It's not just citizens of the UK. It is people here who are not citizens of the UK. It is temporary visa holders of the UK. It is student workers of the UK. Your nationality does not determine your rights as a worker in the UK. It's your worker status which determines your rights as a UK worker. So what do I mean when I say worker status? Well, there are two levels. The first one is worker, and that is anybody who is a worker in the UK. So all workers, including gig workers, including part-time, full-time, have worker status. And that gives you basic protections against being paid, not being paid the minimum wage, being paid your holidays, things like that. Some people also get an additional employee status, which is if you have an employment contract with your employer, which gives you additional workers' rights, for example, the right to not be unfairly dismissed. But neither of those have anything to do with your nationality, whether or not you are a citizen of the UK or not. It is just the type of contract and the type of work that you are doing with the employer that determines your rights. The other thing I want to make super clear is if you are here on a visa, you can still use the employment tribunal system. You are allowed, and I would encourage you to use the employment tribunal system if you're here on any kind of worker visa or a student worker visa. You absolutely are allowed to do that, and it does not count as recourse to public funds if you win your case and are awarded. That is not a public fund. You are allowed to win a tribunal case and be compensated for something that has happened to you. You may, as a part of your visa, have restrictions on the number of hours that you can work, the type of work that you can do, but again, this doesn't affect your fundamental rights as a worker. It just may affect the type of work that you can do, but you can still use the tribunal system. And the other thing I want to make absolutely clear is that the Equality Act applies to immigrants. So you have the right, as someone coming into the UK, whether or not you are nationalized here, whether or not you are on a visa, to not be treated unfavorably because you are another nationality, a different race, or something not to do with that part of your life, a gender or a certain sexual orientation, or are married, or are pregnant. So if you are working here in the UK, the Equality Act applies to you. Visa status does not matter. The UK government does require that employers check that you have the right to work before employing you to do work. But again, assuming that they have employed you, you are here on some kind of visa that allows you to work, you have the rights of either a worker or an employee, and both have the right to take their employer to the tribunal. So thank you very much to that user who pointed out what I was doing. I was absolutely both incorrect and problematic. I would never want immigrants to feel like they were some kind of second-class non-citizen in this case. So thank you very much for pointing that out, and I will do better in the future to say things like, as a worker here in the UK, you have the right to take your employer to tribunal.